Hi, Gerald here. Well, it's been a rough few days here for BC. We've had almost 800 people die from the heat. I'm just lucky to be out here in the Gulf Islands, although we got enough heat to make my cat sick, and I spent a day lying on the bottom of the boat. It was no joke, it really wasn't. I did some research into it, and I found out that at 100% humidity, 38 degrees centigrade, 35 degrees centigrade rather, you'll die. You'll cook slowly from the inside. It got almost, it was 49.6 in the town of Lytton the last day the sensors worked. The very next day, the last thing the sensors picked up was 70 km/h winds. And that was the end of the sensors. End of the town too. The town burned up, which is kind of ironic because they were expecting a flood because they're at the confluence of two of the biggest rivers in British Columbia. And this heat dome had melted the snow caps. I mean, there's video on the internet. It's incredible. These snow caps melting over the course of 3 days, just gone. They're usually there all year round. So the town is yet to get its flood, but it's coming. And there isn't any town left though. All the flood would do was rinse away the ashes. I mean, it's biblical, really biblical. And yet, guys like Horgan, socialists they call themselves, environmentalists they call themselves, friends of the people, they want to chop down old growth. And you got Junior Trudeau buying pipelines and talking about reconciliation, talking about feminism, and talking about all kinds of shit that he doesn't do anything about. Just a salesman. He's selling us well, all the three parties are selling us a bunch of bullshit. And the Green Party, they're struggling between the eco-capitalist and the eco-socialist. And anybody who thinks capitalism capitalism is going to get us out of this crisis, I can't see it happening myself. Perhaps I lack the imagination. Perhaps not. Perhaps we need a whole change of system. And the Green Party has to become an eco-socialist party. You can't, I mean, otherwise you're just going to be a bunch of Tories with, what do they call them? Tories with Teslas. It's a beautiful day here today. I've just been oaring around, getting my exercise. Hardly ever walk anymore. I just oar. I ended up with a big arms. But I don't mind oaring, I kind of like it. So tomorrow I go into town. And I pick up my wetsuit. I'm gonna buy some steaks for the barbecue. My propane is really bothering me. I first thought it was a sensor. I took the sensor apart. I looked at the circuit board because the sensors are right on the circuit board, and there was this like screw kind of dial there with no label on it. So I figured that must be a sensitivity setting. So maybe the only problem is it's too sensitive. So I turned it down, or I turned it halfway, and it worked for like a week, and then it started going off again. And there's a electric solenoid switch, and then there's the valve at the head of the propane cylinder. So I turned them both off, and yet I was still getting propane. So now I'm thinking the sensor's actually working. As hard as it can believe, both those valve and the solenoid valve has failed at the same time. They're both leaking propane, and leaking propane is something you don't want to have in a boat, because what'll happen is it'll gather at the bottom of the boat, and then anything could, the refrigeration unit, the refrigeration compressor switching on, or or something to do with some switch inside the circuit boards for the solar panels, anything. The engine's starting up, anything, switching on, and kaboom, that boat just goes, kaboom. So I'm going to, the place to get it fixed is not the place, not the town I'm going to. Unfortunately, it's on the other side of the island, so I'm going to have to sail around. But I'm going to have to do it because, well, I can also, no, I just think there's some faulty equipment here. I have to get this fixed. I don't want to screw around with this. This is, you know, like if I screw around with something else, like it just, the worst thing that can happen is it won't work. With this, the worst thing that can happen is the boat blows up in the middle of the ocean and I'm stuck swimming. And that's not something I want to be doing. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye bye. Okay, stop.